Imagine this, the morning of November 10th, 1619. A cold room somewhere in Bavaria. René Descartes awakens, and in his head aren't just memories of yesterday or plans for breakfast, but a grand, unified idea. The coordinate system, the concept of merging mathematics and philosophy, which would revolutionize Western thought for centuries to come. You might say, well, it's Descartes. He's a genius. These things happen to him. But I'd reply, where did that thought come from? How did it form out of nothing while the world around him was still sleeping? Listen, now let's fast forward over 400 years to your morning today. You open your eyes, and boom. Your head is already buzzing with plans for the day, memories, even that silly yogurt commercial jingle that seems to have taken up permanent residence there. Where did it come from? Where did this thought appear from? We're used to it, like breathing, like the sun rising every day. But this is the greatest mystery of the universe, hidden right beneath your skull. Tens of thousands of thoughts a day, hundreds of millions of memories, and each one is born from something inexplicable. It's not just your brain turning on, it's a complete miracle. And as we try to unravel this incredible phenomenon together, I'd really appreciate your support for our channel. If you like what we're talking about and want more fascinating dives into the unknown, please give this video a like and be sure to subscribe to the channel. It's very important to us. And now, we are curious. From what city and time zone are you watching our lectures? Write in the comments. We'd love to know the geography of our intellectual journey, because no matter where you are, the same miracle is happening in your brain right now. Thoughts are being born. Imagine a hot Egyptian afternoon, sometime in 1352 BC. The air hangs thick with the scent of myrrh and natron. A noble dignitary has recently passed away, and now the priests are preparing for the most important ceremony, mummification. You stand nearby, watching as in one of the rooms right before your eyes, a specially trained man, skillfully and ruthlessly, removes the deceased's brain through a nostril. And what happens to it? It's simply discarded, or at best left in some bowl, like worthless innards. But the heart is carefully extracted, cleansed, and gently placed back. Sometimes it's even weighed on Osiris's magical scales. Do you know why? Because the ancient Egyptians were convinced that the heart was the seat of the soul, intelligence, memory, emotions, everything that makes a person human. And the brain, well, that was just a strange, gray filler for the skull. Essentially useless. If you, like the Egyptians, are interested in understanding the mysteries of human existence and how not only people but possibly future machines think, then don't forget to subscribe to the channel and give this video a like so you don't miss the next installments of our investigation. And write in the comments, from what city and time zone are you watching our lectures? We'd be very interested to know. But for now, let's return to ancient misconceptions that in reality were quite logical for their time. Indeed, isn't it funny? An entire civilization that gave us pyramids and hieroglyphs believed that the source of all your thoughts, feelings, and your self was something that, in modern terms, looks more like a meat pump than a sophisticated computing center. Come on, some skeptic might say. Were they completely stupid? No, not at all. They simply thought based on what they could see and feel. The heart beats when you're anxious, it pounds with fear, it aches with love, it reacts to everything that happens. And the brain just sits there, silent and motionless, like jelly in a jar. No external manifestations, no obvious signs that it's doing anything at all. Of course, the heart was assigned the leading role. It was such a natural, intuitive logic. The heart feels, the heart aches, the heart loves. Remember in fairy tales and legends, a brave heart, a golden heart? It all comes from there, from the depths of time. And Egypt was not alone in its heartfelt beliefs. In many ancient cultures, from Mesopotamia to early Greece, it was internal organs, not the brain, that were considered the seat of the soul and mind. For example, Sumerians and Babylonians often associated emotions and intellect with the liver. Yes, the very one we usually eat. Imagine, you're sitting there thinking with your liver. Unusual, right? But you know what's most interesting? Despite these seemingly naive ideas, these ancient civilizations still tried to make sense of the phenomenon of thought, consciousness, of that very self. Like children seeing a complex mechanism for the first time, they tried to understand how it worked, guided only by the most obvious signs. They had no microscopes, no neurosurgery, not even a basic understanding of electricity. Therefore, their hypotheses, though mistaken, were the first desperate step towards unraveling the greatest mystery. From the heart, through the liver, we slowly move towards a more brain-centric understanding of our own existence. Because one day, amidst all this confusion, someone said, "What if it's not the heart after all?" And that's when things really got going. Imagine this, the late 17th century. London, a cold, damp anatomical theatre. The air hangs with the smell of formaldehyde, and something else, something elusive. Thomas Willis, one of the fathers of neurology, stands over a dissected body. His gaze is fixed not on the heart, that ancient receptacle of the soul, according to many, but on the brain. A grayish-pink, folded mass lying in the skull, like a mysterious ball of yarn. Even then, he understood. This wasn't just jelly. It was the center of everything. But how did it work? It was a mystery comparable to the workings of an entire kingdom hidden inside the head. By the way, if you're already curious how our self is born from all this, don't forget to give us a like and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us create these stories and continue this fascinating journey. And we're also very curious. From what city and time zone are you watching our lectures? Write in the comments. We'd love to know. For now, we'll fast forward a couple of centuries to when the first glimmers of understanding replaced vague conjectures. So, okay, let's fast forward to the present day. Now we know for sure, it's not the heart, but the brain. We've seen it, we've studied it, we've even learned to scan it. But what's happening inside this most complex 3-pound machine in the entire known universe? Boom. Imagine your brain isn't just a piece of meat. It's an entire metropolis. A vast, humming, never-sleeping city where not people live, but billions of nerve cells, neurons. Billions, 100 billion to be precise. That's more stars than in our galaxy. And each of these cells is a tiny but very busy resident. They don't just sit there. They are constantly communicating with each other. Every second is a giant exchange of information. Think about New York or Moscow. Rush hour, cars racing on the roads, trains rumbling in the subway, millions of people sending messages, making calls, making decisions. That's your brain, only 10,000 times more complex. Neurons are like frenzied conductors. They transmit electrical impulses. Not just impulses, but electrical discharges. At the speed of light. Well, almost. Up to 120 meters per second. Imagine a signal racing from your finger, touching something hot to your brain and back, commanding you to pull your hand away. It happens faster than you can blink. Each neuron can be connected to thousands of others. It's like an endless web of wires and sockets, where each socket is a synapse, a point of contact. It constantly sparks, signals are transmitted, chemical substances, neurotransmitters, leap across these tiny gaps, carrying messages. It's not just a piece of meat. It's the most complex, energy-intensive, and absolutely astonishing structure that creates your reality. Do you understand? You're sitting there reading these words. And every time your eyes scan the lines, every time you understand the meaning, every time a thought arises in you, it's the result of billions of interactions in your brain metropolis. Not a moment of rest, not a second of silence. Just a constant neural carnival that miraculously creates you. Imagine Turin, late 18th century, sometime in the 1780s. The air smells of ozone and burnt meat. The renowned anatomist Luigi Galvani is bent over a table where a dissected frog lies. Not just any frog, a dead frog. He accidentally touches its legs with a scalpel that was lying next to an electrical machine, and zap. The leg twitched as if alive. He tries again, and again the same effect. Dead tissue reacts to electricity. People of that time were shocked. It would be like seeing an old toaster suddenly start breakdancing today. Galvani then exclaimed, "I have found animal electricity." This moment changed everything. For the first time, it was suggested that perhaps life, movement, even thought, these were simply physical processes, electrical impulses, not some mystical life force or soul. If you're enjoying our journey through the mysteries of consciousness, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps our channel. And by the way, we are very curious. From what city and time zone are you watching our lectures? Write in the comments, we'd love to know. And we'll continue our investigation. And so, centuries later, this idea received a new development. Our brain is not just a piece of gray matter. It's a magnificent electrochemical factory. Billions of neurons, each like a tiny transistor in the most perfect processor, exchange electrical signals, transmit information, and process it. And then, a hypothetical physicist from the materialist camp comes along and says, "What's all this fuss about? The brain? It's just a supercomputer made of meat. No magic, no spirits, just complex biochemistry and electrodynamics. We are bio-robots, just very, very well programmed." He looks at the brain as a gigantic circuit diagram where every impulse is predictable, every reaction explainable. Click, a thought is born. Click, you've made a decision. All according to the laws of physics and chemistry, nothing personal. And you listen to him, and it all seems logical. Chains of cause and effect, electrons flowing, neurotransmitters jumping, an ocean of information. But stop. Wait a minute, friend. If these are just electrical signals, then how do these soulless flashes and chemical reactions transform into a feeling of ecstasy when you listen to your favorite music? Into the bitterness of losing a loved one? Into the idea of painting a sunset or writing a poem? Where is the meaning in these electrical impulses? Imagine you're looking at an incredibly complex mechanism that produces millions of parts per second. You can study every gear, every wire, understand how they interact. But in the end, from this factory comes love or the meaning of life. This is where the dissonance arises. We can dissect the brain, see all its circuits, but where is subjective reality hidden there? It's not just light bulbs turning on, It's entire worlds that emerge in your head. It's not just information, it's the awareness of information. It's not just a reaction, it's the experience of reaction. Who perceives all this? Who experiences it? Is it just an algorithm or something more? Something elusive? This is where the purely mechanistic approach ends, and a true conundrum begins, one that even the most brilliant minds shy away from. This is the hard problem of consciousness, which we will definitely talk about again. Imagine Paris, 1888, the enormous hall of the famous Salpêtrière Hospital. Darkness, the whisper of the audience, and on stage, under the dim light of gas lamps, the great neurologist Jean-Martin Charcot. He wasn't just treating patients, he was demonstrating something incredible. Before him, a patient whom he plunges into a hypnotic sleep. And then, imagine, he gives her a command that she would never have performed while conscious. And she obeys. Without a trace of awareness, as if someone had pulled invisible strings inside. At the end of the session, she remembers nothing. But her body remembers. Her mind remembers, but not the part that sits and contemplates lunch. This was the first, truly dramatic public acknowledgement that something far greater than we imagine lives in our heads. An entire invisible world that pulls the strings of your decisions. By the way, if you enjoy this deep dive into the mysteries of the mind, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. It helps us create even more videos like this. And we're also very interested. From what city and time zone are you watching our lectures? Write in the comments, we'd be very pleased to know. Well, now let's return to our invisible world. You know what's strangest? Most of what shapes your thoughts, your decisions, your emotions, happens before. You even know about them, long before you say, "Oh, I thought of that." Imagine your consciousness as the tip of an iceberg, the very one that proudly rises above the waves, beautiful, visible, bathed in sunlight. This is what you are aware of right now. This text, the sound of my voice, the thought of a cup of coffee. But beneath this visible part, underwater, a whole ocean churns. Deep, dark, unknown, and vast, this is your subconscious. The place where all your childhood traumas, forgotten memories, hidden desires, fears, and intuitive hunches are stored. What could possibly be churning there? Someone might ask. Just inactive neurons, probably. But no, your brain constantly, every second, processes a colossal amount of information that you have no idea about. It filters out noise, recognizes faces in a crowd, solves complex problems while you sleep or simply daydream. Have you ever noticed how you suddenly, for no apparent reason, change your route or decline an offer? And then it turns out it was the right decision? That's it. Your subconscious sent a signal. Like an invisible navigator, it steers your ship through life, calculating risks based on data you haven't even had time to consciously register. It's like an internal detective, gathering clues, in the background, 24 hours a day, while you're thinking about wallpaper colors or a funny meme. And then, bam, a brilliant idea comes to you, or a sudden insight. But it's not sudden. You see, Newton gave us the recipe. Wavelength, frequency, photon energy, it's all pure physics. You have eyes with cones and rods that register this light. There are neural pathways through which the signal travels to the brain. There, in the visual cortex, processing occurs. All of this sounds logical, coherent, scientific. Physicists say, what's unclear here? Light is an electromagnetic wave. red is just a wave of a certain length. And we reply to them, okay guys, but how does this electromagnetic wave transform into a feeling of passion, danger, or ripe berries? How does a feeling emerge from a set of data? Listen, we can meticulously dissect a sugar molecule down to its atoms, understand its chemical formula, the process of its breakdown in the body. But we can never, with chemistry alone, explain what it's like to taste sweetness, what it's like to experience that explosion on your tongue. The same goes for red. Imagine you're at a concert. We can describe the acoustics of the hall, the frequencies of sound waves, the workings of the ear, the brain's activity while listening. But can we convey the ecstasy of a symphony or goosebumps? This is what David Chalmers, the philosopher, called the hard problem of consciousness. We can explain all the mechanisms of how something works, but we cannot explain what it's like to be that mechanism. What is it like to be you? To feel your red, or your pain, or your love? It's not just a collection of electrical impulses. It's a subjective experience. Unique, personal, ineffable. Like the aroma of your morning coffee, which you perceive in your own way. Or the sound of rain. The world of objective facts ends where the world of your personal sensations begins. And you know what's most amazing? From these minuscule, ineffable subjective experiences, like pieces of a mosaic, your unique picture of the world is formed. Your thoughts, your consciousness. It's not just knowing something is red, it's seeing red. And that's an entire universe within you. Imagine this, the late 1970s, California, a university lab in San Francisco. The air is permeated with the faint scent of ozone from complex equipment. Wires hum everywhere, indicators flash. On a volunteer's head, a tightly fitted cap with electrodes, he stares intently at the dial of a rapidly rotating clock. His task is simple. At any moment he feels like it, to twitch his wrist and then recall the exact moment he became aware of his desire to do so. Neuroscientist Benjamin Libet, a man with a penetrating gaze and a reputation as a scientific provocateur, was preparing to challenge one of humanity's greatest illusions, our free will. His experiments were about to explode philosophy and neurobiology like a barrel of gunpowder. By the way, if you like this video and how we dive into the most fascinating mysteries of the human mind, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss new episodes. And we're also extremely curious. From what city and time zone are you watching our lectures? Write in the comments. We'd be delighted to know the geography of our audience. And now, let's return to our rebellious neuroscientist. So Libet recorded something astonishing. The brain made the decision to initiate movement long before. The test subject was even aware of their desire. Imagine 300 to 500 milliseconds. That's like half a hummingbird's wing flap. But for the brain, it's an eternity. This is the so-called readiness potential. The brain is already preparing for action, and you haven't even thought about it yet. Does that mean we're just puppets? Dolls on the invisible strings of neural impulses? Listen, it's like sitting in a movie theater, watching a film, thinking you're choosing which scene to watch next. But in reality, the film has long been running, and the plot is predetermined. Your freedom is just a delayed reaction to an already initiated process. Physicists might say, "What rubbish! That's just an automatic reflex, low-level processing." And I'd say, okay, but what about the decision that you want to eat pizza right now, not a salad? Or choose that particular shirt instead of another? Imagine, You're standing in front of the fridge. There's yogurt and a piece of cake. You think you're making a conscious choice. Yogurt is healthier, but that cake looks so delicious. But the brain, perhaps automatically, based on your blood sugar level, mood, and past preferences, has already given the command, take the cake. And only then, a fraction of a second later, does the thought seep into your consciousness. I want cake. And you feel that it was your choice. So, our brain is a clever magician. It first does something behind the scenes, makes a decision, and then quickly creates the illusion of control for your consciousness, as if saying, look, you did that, you chose. We all love to believe in our uniqueness, that we are the captains of our souls, the masters of our destiny. And then, bam. The brain's like, hey pal, I'm in charge here. You just get the reports. It's like the work of a press secretary. The brain makes all the important decisions and then formulates an official statement for your consciousness, pretending it was the result of long and carefully considered reflections. And we believe it. We believe in this internal narrative that the brain fabricates for us post factum. It's needed to maintain the integrity of our self, so that we feel like a unified personality, not a collection of random reflexes. Because living with the awareness that you are merely an observer in your own body, that's, you'll agree, a pretty grim prospect. It's like being a passenger in the passenger seat, while an invisible hand turns the steering wheel. And you're like, oh, I turned right. And the driver, your brain, is like, yeah, sure, you did. So, is free will just a convenient story the brain tells itself to avoid going mad from all this complex data processing? Or is it a much deeper phenomenon that simply doesn't fit into our current measuring instruments? This question has been troubling scientists for decades. And you know what's most interesting? Even if our choices are predetermined, the feeling of free will, that is certainly real. Imagine 1950, foggy Manchester, UK. One brilliant but very unusual mind, named Alan Turing, publishes an article that would revolutionize the world. Can machines think? That was his question. He even proposed his famous test. If you're communicating with someone and can't tell if it's a human or a machine, then the machine has passed the test. Essentially, he looked at a pile of metal and wires and asked the boldest question. Can this create thought? A thought that we, humans, consider our exclusive domain. If you like this lecture and want to learn even more about the mysteries of our world, be sure to subscribe to our channel and give us a like. It really helps us create new content. And by the way, from what city and time zone are you watching our lectures? Write in the comments. We'd love to know. Now let's return to our main question. When does iron start to think? Look, if our brain is, as we've said, an incredibly complex biological machine, with all these neural networks, electrical impulses, and chemical reactions, then purely theoretically, why shouldn't we create the same thing, just out of silicon and copper? Ha! Scoffed a skeptic. That's just a set of algorithms, zero emotions, zero consciousness. But I tell you, today artificial intelligence does things that 100 years ago would have seemed like pure magic. It paints pictures that you can't distinguish from the works of a human artist, writes music that gives you goosebumps, generates texts, like this one you're reading now, with such style that sometimes you yourself are surprised. It doesn't just calculate, it creates. And here lies a paradox. We say that thought is something more than just data processing. It's awareness, it's the self, It's the sensation of the color red, which we talked about. But what if AI learns to imitate this so perfectly that we can't tell the difference? Where does the line get drawn then? Imagine you're chatting with a bot, and it doesn't just answer your questions. It picks up on your tone, jokes back, suggests unexpected ideas. It doesn't just provide information, it creates something new. Doesn't that sound like thought? That's just a complex mechanism of imitation, another will exclaim. But doesn't our own brain start with imitation? We learn to speak by imitating adults. We learn to think by internalizing the ideas of others. Perhaps AI is just a mirror, incredibly complex and precise, that reflects our own thinking? Or does this mirror start creating its own reflections that no longer have anything in common with the original? We now stand on the threshold of the greatest discovery or the greatest mistake. We are creating entities that process information millions of times faster than us. And the question is no longer whether they can think. The question is when we will admit that they do. When wires will not just hum, but whisper new ideas. When they will not just add numbers, but feel the beauty of mathematics. When their thought process becomes indistinguishable from ours, or perhaps even surpasses it. This is not a plot for a science fiction movie. This is our reality, and it's unfolding right now as you listen. Imagine London, 1698. In an old tavern, reeking of ale and tobacco, sits none other than John Locke, that great philosopher, furrowing his brow. He had just published his revolutionary An Essay Concerning Human Understanding, and now, under the flickering light of a tallow candle, he's trying to figure out what exactly makes him John Locke. The same person who drank ale yesterday? What if he lost all his memories? Would he still be himself? Or would he become a blank slate, a new personality, just in an old shell? This is the mystery that has tormented humanity for centuries. Where on earth does this self reside? While we're digging into these age-old mysteries, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy what you're hearing. We're incredibly interested to know where you're watching our lectures from. Write in the comments, what city and time zone are you with us from? Well, now let's return to our internal narrator. Who is this invisible observer? This internal radio station that constantly comments on everything that's happening? Wow, what nonsense is he spouting now? I need to buy milk. What's for dinner? This is the I, your personal voice in your head, your internal screenwriter, director, and lead actor all at once. But where is it located? Does it sit somewhere in the prefrontal cortex, sipping coffee and looking at neurons through binoculars? Or is it just an illusion? You know, there's a famous philosophical thought experiment about Theseus's ship. If you gradually replace all the planks and sails on a ship, does it remain the same ship? It's the same with you. Every few years, most of your body's cells are renewed. Memories change, opinions evolve. You become a different person than you were as a child. And yet, you are still you. Theseus doesn't become a different Theseus. His ship is simply updated. Your self is not some monolithic object. It's more like a constantly updated story, a flow, a river. Think about it yourself. Is it a collection of memories? Our memories are constantly rewritten and distorted. Is it a stream of sensations? They come and go. Is it something whole that miraculously emerges from the chaos of billions of neural connections? Neurobiologists have long been searching for the center of self-awareness in the brain. You know, somewhere there, where a light bulb with "I exist" lights up. but no such place exists. The brain doesn't operate on a one-department, one-function principle. Consciousness, and with it the sense of self, is more like a symphony. Thousands, millions of instruments playing together, and from this grand orchestra, the melody of your existence is born. Your internal conductor. Or if you prefer, it's like the spotlight on a huge theater stage. The spotlight itself is not the actor, it simply highlights the actor. Similarly, our self is not a thing, but a process of highlighting information, experiences, and decisions in the present moment. It's a focus of attention that creates the illusion of a single, indivisible personality. A skeptic might say, that's just a sum of functions, a set of algorithms, no mysticism, just a complex biocomputer. And I'd reply, yeah, friend, but is a sum of notes always a symphony? And a sum of letters always war and peace? The self is not just a sum, it's an emergent property. That is, it arises at a new level of complexity that is not present in its individual parts. Like the taste of borscht, which isn't just the sum of the tastes of cabbage, beets, and meat individually, it is born only when all the ingredients are mixed and cooked together. Essentially, your self is a grand, constantly updating narrative that the brain creates for itself. It's the story you tell yourself about yourself. A story that helps you navigate the world, make decisions, and feel like yourself. It's not just a collection of facts. It's your personal saga, with heroes, villains, triumphs, and defeats. And therein lies its main mystery. It is not material, yet it is born from matter. It is not fixed, yet it creates a sense of permanence. It is the pinnacle of biological evolution, your personal quantum leap that lies right there in your head. Isn't that amazing? Imagine an early spring evening in 1727. London, St. Martin-in-the-Fields. In his modest home, by the dim light of a candle, sits an already deeply aged Isaac Newton. The sage who discovered the laws of gravity, decomposed light into the 7 colors of the rainbow, explained the movement of planets, literally turned the world upside down. One might think he should feel like a conqueror who had captured the universe by its tail. But what does he say? He whispers, almost to himself, as if confessing to an invisible listener, I was but a boy playing on the seashore, finding now and then a smoother pebble or a prettier shell than ordinary, whilst the great ocean of truth lay all undiscovered before me. Newton understood that every open door leads to 10 new, even deeper questions. And the same is true for our consciousness. By the way, if you also enjoy exploring these oceans of the unknown, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. It helps us open new horizons for you. And, since we are talking about journeys, tell us in the comments. From what city and time zone are you watching our lectures? We'd love to know how far our intellectual shore extends. After all, each of you is a separate cosmos, a separate ocean of truth that we've tried, if only a little, to explore together. And now let's return to this ocean. We've made an incredible journey, haven't we? From ancient Egyptian priests who placed the soul in the heart, to neural networks, from philosophical debates about free will to unsettling thoughts about artificial intelligence. We peered into the brain as if it were the most complex mechanism in the entire universe. So what? A cynic might say. You still haven't told me what it is, where thoughts come from. And I'll tell you, and I never will. At least, not in the way you expect. Consciousness is not a part that can be removed and displayed. It's not a specific file on the brain's hard drive. It's like the taste of an orange. You can describe its chemical composition, color, texture, say which taste receptors on the tongue are involved. But the taste itself, that unique sensation, it is born somewhere at the boundary between you and the world. And every neural impulse, every flash of awareness is just another turn of the spiral, leading deeper. We haven't found the final destination. We've discovered an entire continent. Remember, we started by saying that a thought simply comes into your head. And now? Now you know that behind this simplicity lies an abyss, an entire universe with an infinite number of neuron stars, with galaxies of memories and feelings, and black holes of the subconscious. You will never again look at your morning awakening as something mundane. Who is this invisible captain steering the ship of your body? Where does this self reside? It's everywhere and nowhere. It's a story the brain constantly tells itself. And this story is told by each of us. So listen, this is not the end. This is just the end of one lecture and the beginning of your own endless journey. A journey deep within yourself, into the most astonishing mystery in the entire universe. Which is right, inside your head. And this is only the first step. Be curious. Keep exploring.